Good morning and welcome to Inside Cottonwood. I am today's host, Ron Corbin, Cottonwood City Manager. And we're very fortunate. I'm very excited about our guest today. We have a returning old champion who's been doing it a while, and then we got a brand new fire chief. So I'd like to introduce our fire chief, brand new fire chief, Ron Sauntman. Welcome.
Good morning, sir.
And our fire marshal, Rick Contreras. Welcome, sir.
Good morning. Good to see you.
So, it's now been, I guess, Chief, about 7 months now since you've joined us. New to the organization over here, but we're very excited to have you and looking forward to having a long. You look pretty young, so it looks like we're going to have you around for a while, and we're excited about that. But why don't you introduce yourself to the community and give us a little history of you?
Sure. Well, again, name is Ron Sauntman. Been the fire chief now here, been going on 7 months. It's been a wonderful opportunity. Really like being here. It's a wonderful organization. We've been slowly but surely kind of coming together and learning kind of about how we want the organization to be as we move forward. My history, I'm native here to the Verde Valley. I was actually born at Mark's J. Lawrence Medical Center many years ago.
Where's that? I'm the newbie. Where's that at? You and Rick kind of smile like there's an inside joke here, so help me out. Where's that at?
That's now Verde Valley Medical Center.
Oh, okay. And, when it had another name.
Yeah, okay. many years ago. And I grew up here. I grew up in the Camp Verde area. Graduated high school there and went to work for Camp Verde Fire Department. I was fortunate enough to start there as a volunteer and was able to do 23 years there with the organization, and ultimately retired as a captain or a company officer, and then had a opportunity to go to work for Yavapai County in the Office of Emergency Management. I worked there as a planner for a couple of years and had a very fortunate opportunity to go spend some time at Texas A&M University, traveling around the country teaching incident management and sporting and special events incident management. And then the Lord looked down on me again and blessed me and had the opportunity to come back as the county emergency manager, which I did for just short of 3 years. And then the wife and I felt that we wanted to be able to come back to the community and had the opportunity to get back into the fire service in this position. It was a wonderful opportunity knowing most of the folks. I've spent a number of years working with them prior to, when I went into emergency management and had the chance to come back. So I'm really happy to be here, and we've spent these last 7 months really kind of looking at the organization and how do we better provide service to the community and what can we do to make the organization stronger financially moving forward. And thus far, having the fortunate opportunity to work with you, it's been wonderful. It's been a great experience. And
that's because I've given you some leeway for 6 months. I haven't kicked in yet. Wait till the real Ron shows up. No, we're very excited to have you. And one of the great things is you and your family now live in the Verde Valley, right?
Yes, sir.
Here in the Valley. Well, we're very excited about that, and the organization's glad to have you. Not going to lie, I miss old Chief Kirkendall every now and again. Very happy, good guy, but last I heard he's enjoying retirement.
He is. Which
is a very good thing, because as I often tell people that work hard or work in difficult fields like you and the fire marshal do, your goal isn't to retire. Your goal is to live long, right? And so stay healthy during your career and then live a long retirement. You guys really have a lot of high risk, a lot of high ups and downs, and a lot of risks. And so take care of yourselves so you can have your third career. Am I
yes,
about your third
correct.
career you're on? Very excited for you. Well, we're glad you're here and glad you joined us. One of the things that you've started talking about since joining us is Firewise and fire safety and mitigation, given our location and the drought and everything going on. Why don't you tell the community what this is all about?
Sure. One of the things that we feel is very important, especially when you consider the area that we live in, rural Arizona is predominantly what we would consider in the urban interface, is the term that's used, and that's a term that's kind of generic in its definition, saying that you have a communities or neighborhoods. It could be everything up to like the size of Cottonwood, city of Flagstaff, Prescott, that are designed and built within that interface between the wildland, as we refer to it, or nature in general terms, and then community urban development. That interaction, that relationship between, or when you live in those kind of environments, then obviously exposes you to a greater wildfire threat. And as most folks know, wildfire is the single largest threat here in Arizona and the communities. So we feel that we need to take an active role in that process and making sure that we're helping to not only educate people, but bring to bear some additional resources to help folks make sure that they are being what we term as Firewise. And that's specifically focused on the idea of making sure that in and around your properties you have what we call defensible space, and that's creating space where you do not have like trees and brush, grass, things of that nature, and even items that can be gathered around on a property that are up next to the house that allow for fire in the wildland to communicate and ultimately can cause house fires and things of that nature. So that's a huge focus for us, and in that process we also want to bring to bear the resource of the department in the objective of helping the city with Firewise as well. So we're developing fuels mitigation crews that are going to be out there, and they help with trail maintenance and keeping up on the city properties. And then we go about the business of coordination, which I believe Rick's going to speak to here in a minute, on how we can get resources to support people with grants to help support that maintenance and upkeep of properties and yards and common areas, things of that nature around property.
So, Rick, let's switch to you for a minute, a little bit. Before we get to your topic, though, I'm curious, what can citizens do? Because you talked about this interface, which like yards that could be up against forest or our natural. We have a lot of state trust land that we have the city boundaries up against, and we now have both forests, right? Prescott and Coconino are both inside of our city limits here. That happened very recently. So we do have a lot of undeveloped natural resources around us. So Rick, what can homeowners do to help protect themselves from forest fires and the dangers that they propose?
Well, maintenance is a big thing. It's very key. We typically go out every year and go around all the neighborhoods to make sure that they are following what the safety rules are. 0 to 5 would be the immediate zone that you want to be away from your house for landscaping and brush fuels.
So that's feet? 0
yes,
to 5
0
feet?
to 5 feet, and then 5 to 30 feet would be the intermediate zone.
Okay.
And then extended zone, we like to say 30 to 100 feet. Now, some people don't have that 100 feet,
right,
living in the neighborhoods, but some of the bigger properties do. So we always say, if you're not sure, give us a call. We'll come out and look at your home for a free inspection. We're not there to write you up.
Right.
We're there to work with you. We do, when we do patrol, we prefer to do education before enforcement.
Right.
So, it's just all key is being a partner with the community.
So grow that green close to the house.
Yes.
And then don't let it get yellow. Right, and keep it dry. And in that 0 to 5, you want to keep away your combustibles, your wood stuff, and your trash and stuff like that. Is that what I'm understanding?
Absolutely, because you see some people, they cut wood for their home for heating, and they stack it next to their house. Or
I'm from Arkansas, and that's how we kept warm.
Yeah.
And we wanted to keep that pile of wood next to the door.
Right.
So you're saying don't do that?
Yeah, no, don't do that. It's not a good thing, and
be smart.
Be smart. We've all probably done it in our life, and,
right,
and it just takes that one time. So.
All right. I think it's time for our first break, believe it or not. So when we come back, we're going to talk a little more about what it means to be Firewise and what the city of Cottonwood is doing to help prepare and protect. I'm Ron Corbin, your city manager.
This is Bruce Morrow, Transportation Manager for Cottonwood Area Transit. Remember, we cover the entire Verde Valley and Sedona. Cottonwood Area Transit has you covered wherever you want to ride in the Verde Valley, all day, every day. Take Cottonwood Area Transit through Clarkdale, Verde Village, and from 26 locations in Cottonwood. With Verde Links, it's a quick and easy trip to Sedona every day. Don't forget our connectors to Camp Verde. Visit cottonwoodaz.gov for Cottonwood Area Transit and take a seat. Let's go ride.
There are people who struggle with addiction and homelessness. Sometimes it may feel like there is nothing we can do to help.
But if there is, you can make a tax-deductible donation and help those in need transition away from homelessness.
When you give someone a handout, you could actually be supporting an addiction.
A better life starts with better health, especially for those living in the streets.
Support solutions, not addictions. You can make a difference. Visit cottonwoodcares.org.
Welcome back. I'm Ron Corbin, Cottonwood City Manager, and again, excited about today's guest. We have our new fire chief, Ron Sauntman. Almost called you Rick, sorry. And then we have our fire marshal, Rick Contreras. So welcome back, guys. Appreciate you both being here. So when we left off, we were talking about the Firewise program, taking care of our yards as community members, keeping our house and our structures safe, keeping it green, keeping it away from combustibles, away from the sides of our houses and stuff like that. So let's talk about Yavapai County resources. I mean, we're in this together. You know, the fires don't stop at any boundary. So why don't you guys tell me about what Yavapai resources are available out there?
One of the immediate resources that we have available, a lot of folks don't know, the Prescott Area Wildland Urban Interface Commission has been in place now going on 40 years. We were one of the first, Arizona claims to be one of the first Firewise communities, if you will, in the nation. So they have an extensive amount of experience, and they have since gone about the business with the realization that this urban interface threat is much greater throughout Yavapai County. They've really put a lot of emphasis on developing that into a Yavapai County resource. So they developed Yavapai Firewise, and we work with them frequently in this process of bringing to bear the grant resources and developing Firewise communities. If people choose to go about that, getting 3 or 4 individual homeowners together can begin the process of developing a Firewise community, and then bringing to bear all the other resources within that community itself, and then the partnerships that are derived from that. Rick has some information on that as well.
Well, yeah, and it's for Cottonwood, you know, we're a little different in the Prescott Basin, but we still have the big fuels hazard in some of the wash corridors, and especially, you know, the river corridors, we have this high fuel loads. So we want to be able to mitigate that. We've always had a pretty good prevention mitigation program, but I think Chief saw the need to extend into the Firewise program, which I think is great. I think everybody on board at the station is on board. And so I think it's critical that we get this information out to educate our citizens and to help them out the best we can. You know, everybody's in budget constraints, and we typically do not go onto people's private property and do burnout operations, but maybe there's additional resources to help with those, mitigating those high hazards.
Very good. So you talked about working together, and the resources available at the city. So one of the things that the city of Cottonwood is doing is installing some trails. And one of the things that I guess those act are fire barriers or little grades, right, to help control them. And so I heard you mention earlier the city is going to be working on making sure that our weeds are under control. And Rick, I think you kind of hinted around that 'tis the season to expect some knocks at the door. And so it's not just about enforcement and nuisances. You know, weeds, I think, are not very pretty depending on what's going on. It's really about fire safety. And if we can keep all that yellow grass down, we're into several years of a drought, and hopefully we'll have a wet monsoon. But if you get a visit from one of our fire teams, whether it be the fire marshal or our inspector or community development, we're there really to keep the community safe. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And what's happening with these drought years, the bark beetle starts getting more infestations in pine trees. And I've noticed a lot of evergreens and pine trees in town have been dying. So with the drought and with the bark beetle infestation, we want to make sure and mitigate some of those things as well. So yeah, we're here. We're going to partner with other city staffs, right, and we're here to help.
One of the other things, and I know that the police department's not here today, but they have a new program going, and they're cleaning out some of those washes. Mm-hmm. And really, they're getting rid of that fuel, the fire fuel. I mean, we helped out. It's probably been a month or so that we did that as a team, and there's a lot of things that could burn in there. Worse yet, people, fall asleep in there and smoke and those kinds of things. So as the police department and with the help of the fire department and the whole community, cleaning out those washes is going to make a big difference. I'm very, very excited about that.
I think that was very critical, a great partnership. And also, we've had our fair share of fires from those campsites.
Yeah, so if you see something, say something. If you see something unsafe out there, let us know, call the police department, and we'll take a look and do what we can to keep people safe. Very excited about that. So let's switch gears just a little bit and talk about another safety feature that very dear to me. And I think I've told this story before. I had a friend who lost a child due to drowning when I lived in Yuma, and it's just a sad, sad day. So you guys may not have come prepared, but the city of Cottonwood has some rules about pools, bodies of water. I didn't know if either one of you could just gently remind us what that's about.
Absolutely, yeah. Water safety is key. As everyone in the community understands, we do live near the river here, and I think a lot of folks like to spend time down there, especially for recreation purposes during this time of year that we're coming into. So it's very important to make sure that people are paying attention to the water. Also keeping in mind that when you have children around, you want to make sure that there's supervision and adult supervision, somebody paying attention to what's going on. And using safety devices is very important, especially for small children. Everything from life vests to the floaties, the things that kids will use from a safety perspective. But it's most important to make sure that supervision's in place. It is a real threat, and I know that obviously the city has rules that are in place when they go to the pools and things like that, but it's just as important for individual homeowners who may have pools to make sure that they have their fences in place or that the gates are up and somebody's always paying attention.
Yeah, Rick, if I remember correctly, it doesn't take a very deep pool to kick in a requirement for a fence. Do you happen to remember what that number is if the water's so deep?
No, I don't remember off the top of my head, but some of the things, the self-closing gate, the height of the fence, those things that we want to make sure. A lot of times I make them put a Knox box there on the gate because we want to be able to access that right away, for the fire services. Yeah. So, I don't remember that. I thought it wasn't.
It's not. It's like 6 inches. I mean, it may be a foot, or it might be 18 inches. Right. The point is, if you have water and you have one of those kiddie pools, empty it out at night when you're not there to supervise it and refill it up. Put gates around any big amount of water. It doesn't take long for a kid to drown in there and for you to get sidetracked. And good happens to very good people. This isn't something that just bad people do. Good people, bad things happen to, and it's just one of those things that we just, like leaving kids in a car, in a hot car, nobody does that on purpose. And so we just need to be paying attention to those kinds of things.
And it's instant, and probably in 2007 that happened here in Cottonwood. That's probably still one of the worst calls I've seen. No child should have to go through that.
And no parent should have to live through that.
Exactly, and it's horrible.
It is. So let's take another break. When we come back, I want to talk about the fire season and maybe talk about fire bans or not a fire ban and when and who can do what, if that's all right. Ron Corbin, Cottonwood City Manager, and this is Inside Cottonwood.
This is Bruce Marshal, Transportation Manager for Cottonwood Area Transit. Remember, we cover the entire Verde Valley and Sedona. Cottonwood Area Transit has you covered wherever you want to ride in the Verde Valley, all day, every day. Take Cottonwood Area Transit through Clarkdale, Verde Village, and from 26 locations in Cottonwood. With Verde Links, it's a quick and easy trip to Sedona every day. Don't forget our connectors to Camp Verde. Visit cottonwoodaz.gov for Cottonwood Area Transit and take a seat. Let's go ride.
There are people who struggle with addiction and homelessness. Sometimes it may feel like there is nothing we can do to help.
But there is. You can make a tax-deductible donation and help those in need transition away from homelessness.
When you give someone a handout, you could actually be supporting an addiction.
A better life starts with better health, especially for those living in the streets.
Support solutions, not addictions. You can make a difference. Visit cottonwoodcares.org.
Welcome back to Inside Cottonwood. I am Ron Corbin, Cottonwood City Manager, and again, very fortunate to have our brand new fire chief, Ron Sauntman. Welcome aboard. And then no disrespect, but our old timer, our Fire Marshal, Rick Contreras, great part of the team. Glad you're here this morning. So we've been talking about safety, started out with the Firewise program, very important to our community that we build in defenses to prevent fires. And then we talked about water safety. We didn't hit, maybe we'll circle back and talk about lightning, staying out of the water, talk about if we do get a monsoon, staying out of the washes. It doesn't take long for a flash flood to happen. But I want to talk about a question the city gets a lot, and that's fire burns. So what kind of restrictions do we have now, and what are we expecting for our future?
Well, currently we don't have any restrictions in place.
Okay.
One of the things that we try to pay attention to throughout the year, and in Arizona we really don't have a time of year when fire is not an option, meaning that we are able to have fire activity at any time throughout the year. Specifically during the summer months, though, we coordinate our process within the city and the Fire Marshal with the other departments that are throughout the state, our state and federal partners, so the Department of Forestry and Fire Management, United States Forest Service, and Bureau of Land Management. They will go throughout the year and they kind of monitor the trends that are happening with what are the fuels, what are the conditions like outside, are we warming up, what is the moisture forecast looking like, and they make assessments beginning usually sometime around March, and that will continue all the way through the very middle, usually of October, depending on what the year looks like, how the trends have been going. And right now there's a trend towards extreme dry grasses and all the fuels associated with limited moisture and wind. As everybody knows, with the fair coming up in the near future, it's kind of the joke in the community that when the wind starts blowing, everybody knows the fair's in town. So that is happening, and we, as an example this week, they're predicting windy conditions and extreme dry and relative low humidities around 10% throughout the Verde Valley, which that's a prime mix for fire behavior and aggressive activity.
So Rick, you expecting a burn to kick in any time now?
The ban? Yeah, it's last, I think 3 years it's been in May, and last year was the earliest. It was early May, and it went the longest. So not only were we going through COVID, but we were going through this extreme fire conditions. Currently we have our burn permit that we offer to the citizens, and they could burn and help with the fuels mitigation at their home. It's a permitted process, but once we get into those critical areas, we shut everything down, and we really monitor what's going on, even in our parks. We don't allow barbecuing with charcoal or wood. Sometimes we still allow LP gas burners,
right,
in your home stuff. They have on and off switch and a functioning lid. But we're getting close to that. We're almost there. So
yeah, it doesn't seem any wetter than it did last year.
No,
that's for sure.
Burn them if you got them. Once you call the number to dispatch, and if it is a burn day, depending on the winds that day, no time to wait. Let's get that stuff burned off as soon as you can, and as safe as you can.
So so you said call dispatch, but do you have to get a permit first? And if you do, where do you get the permit from?
Well, if you live in the city of Cottonwood, you get it at the Cotton Fire Department,
Okay.
191 South 6th Street.
Okay.
And they're the same price as always, free. So you come in and get a free permit. We have you get a permit every year.
Okay.
And then we have a closed season, typically it used to be June to monsoon, but now it's May to monsoon. So if we do get those wet monsoon seasons, then we open it back up in August and then burn in through the later part of the year.
Okay, well, I really appreciate you gentlemen being on here, but before we leave, Rick's been through this before, and unless you've watched, you don't know what's coming, but I got a question out of left field. So I'm not going to ask you what our motto is, what our value statement is, but it's to inspire a vibrant community. So at Cottonwood, we believe in inspiring a vibrant community. So your job now is to tell me what that means to you and how you see the fire department. So first you, and then how does the fire department inspire a vibrant community?
Well, inspiring a vibrant community for myself is to say that being a part of the community. I think that everybody has a responsibility, if you will, to be a part of making the community better. And in our case, in the fire service specifically, it's speaking to safety. Making sure that we are taking care of each other is the number one priority. Taking care of neighbors and paying attention. If you see something, say something, and being a part of that. But also in the process of what are we doing as either individuals, which ultimately impacts the communities around us, meaning our neighborhoods, but being prepared and being a good steward of the land, making sure that we are paying attention and looking at things like Firewise, but also even individual preparedness, making sure that we can perform CPR is a good example of that, because you can be upon a situation anywhere within the community at any given time. And then making sure that you have things that help your family and or neighbors in the event of major emergencies, having go bags, things of that nature. That's all a part of it. I think that if we're all being safety conscious and supporting each other, that we ultimately are making a vibrant community because we're safer and better prepared.
That's awesome. So, Rick, instead of asking you the question, he reminded me, so part of inspiring a vibrant community that the fire department does all the time is providing education. So what's going on in the fire department? You guys still teaching CPR? What kind of programming do you guys have going on to help the community?
Yeah,
right now?
CPR is huge. We are teaching that, smoke detector program, and we want to start kicking up our youth and senior programs. With COVID, we were kind of restricted.
Right.
So I like to say I inspire a vibrant, safe community. That's I like to throw that in there. Community risk reduction and education in the community is huge to me, and I'm honored to be able to help.
Well, we're very excited to have you. So I want to thank you both again. Welcome aboard, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
We're very excited about a long third career with us here at the City of Cottonwood. Rick, always wonderful having you on the team, so I appreciate it. And this is Inside Cottonwood. I'm Ron Corbin, Cottonwood City Manager.